Hello everyone, my name is Sophie and welcome to my new video. Today I will be talking about A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret. I don't know her. Atwood? I don't think so. I don't think she writes fantasy. She only writes disturbing dystopian. She has no time to write shit books like this. Okay, before I talk about the book, okay, because this is gonna be a rant review, this is gonna be hateful, I just want to make something clear. This book was fine. It was a fine book. The writing was good. The world building was also good. The characters were a bit boring. They were really boring, actually. But everything around it was constructed well. It's a standalone, it's an easy read, and there's nothing inherently bad about it. But if you're nitpicking like me, you'll find something. So I know this has a really high ranking on Goodreads. And honestly, I've realized in my time reviewing books that there's two different kinds of bad books. One is a book is bad because it's boring, which applies to this one. The other one is a book is bad, but there's like, it's just bad in general. The writing is bad, it's ridiculous, and it's funny. It's funny bad. And you want to keep reading because it's so funny. You want to know what happens next because you want to make fun of it. Like Iron Widow, Touch of Darkness. This one is a boring bad book because it's like, it's a fine book, but it's nothing that's like, not gonna rock your world, you know what I mean? And it's a standalone high fantasy, and I say this in every video that I make. If it's a standalone high fantasy, stop writing that. There is no need to write high fantasy as a standalone. No need. If you've watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I get the vibes from this book. I'm not saying that if you liked Full Metal Alchemist, you should read this book. Like, it's like on par. Full Metal Alchemist is a masterpiece, okay? But just like the magic system reminded me of that, is what I'm saying. So I like that about it. Because I miss Edward. Love him. That being said, I'm going to tell you everything that happens, and I'm going to tell you why this book was boring. And also, if you're wondering, I rated it 2 stars. If I had read this when I was 14, I would have probably given it 5 stars. Because I would have been obsessed with Nathaniel, because he's like sassy, a bad boy. Also, another vibe that I get from this book is the infernal devices. My bookshelf looks so fucked up. I was filming TikToks, follow me on TikTok, and I had to take books out to film it, and so I didn't put them back in because I was lazy. Don't look at it. Just look at this full bust of a woman. It's way better. On my fully pink bed. Disclaimer, if this is your favorite book, you love this book, you would die for the characters, I'm happy for you. This is allowed to be your favorite book. I'm not coming for you personally. I did say the book was okay, just not for me, okay? And I'm here to spread the word why this book is like a little silly. It is a silly book. Please don't take it personally. It's not supposed to be an attack on you or the author. Now let me talk about it. Let me be hateful. Also, I have to be fast because I'm sweating my ass off, okay? The premise of the book is we have our main character called Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, and no one calls her anything but Elizabeth or her last name, which I can't pronounce. I feel like she should have a nickname. Elizabeth is an apprentice in the library because this is a magical world. There's like a bunch of libraries that contain bad, big, evil books. She's in the library, she's an orphan, and she's training to become a warden because she really wants to become a warden because that's just what people do when they're in the library, and those are the people who like protect the books with swords because the books can come to life. They have like, they're living, the books are living. So everyone who's a bookworm is gonna love this book because it's about books, and that's our whole personality. Anyway, Elizabeth is a librarian apprentice, and the books are alive, okay? So there's different classes of books, class 1 to 10, kind of like Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm going to make a lot of references in this video because a lot of things reminded me of a lot of different things. This book is full of tropes. This is a standalone, so you have to use everything you can. Honestly, I'm like, can you shut up? I'm debating writing a book just so I can like make a book with a lot of tropes in it and prove that anyone will read. Like, BookTok will eat it up. I'm thinking about it. Should I do it? I won't. I have no patience to write a book, but maybe I will someday. Only if you read it though. In the beginning of the book, we meet Elizabeth as she is transporting one of the more higher ranked books that actually have life and can be vicious. You know, they can like speak and be angry, and I was just thinking of Harry Potter the whole time. They're delivering it to a vault because there's different libraries and they're transporting books in between sometimes for whatever reason. And she's doing this with the director. And the director is who took her into the library when she was an orphan. I don't remember how old she was. She was like a little kid when she came to the library, which is very unusual. Usually you're 13. This is important. Usually you're 13 when you come to the library to begin your apprenticeship. She was there sooner. She was younger when she came there. Keep in mind, okay? We'll talk about it later. And the director is the director of the library. She's the boss. And they're transporting a book. Ordinarily, such a responsibility fell far above the rank of apprentice librarian. How Ricochet, you take your aim. I love Sia. No. Yeah, Sia. Who sings that? Whatever. Ricocheted through her like a bird trapped within a house, taking flight, falling and taking flight again, exhausting itself for the promise of open skies far away. That is a long-ass metaphor. That is a long-ass metaphor, girl. Like, just say that you are hopeful. Like, what the fuck? She wants to be a warden, but she is 16. Child. A child. Imagine being 16 in 2022. No hate if you're 16. Please don't unsubscribe. She's just shy 1 year of becoming 17 and training to be a warden, which is her ultimate goal. And this is Elizabeth's only goal. We can rant about her already. We're like 10 pages in. Elizabeth has no point in life. She has like one friend and she's like the odd one out. And she can also just fight with a sword, even though she's never fought with a sword before, just because she can. And she fights like people with it, and they're like grown-ass men. They're all worse at fighting with a sword than a 16-year-old. YA. Elizabeth is very boring. She's a very boring main character. She does everything because it's the right thing to do. She's very righteous, and because she doesn't have a drive within herself, I mean, it's becoming a warden. That possibility later falls off. We'll talk about it. She won't become a warden. She can't anymore. The only reason she does the things she does is because they are the right thing to do. She's like, and people are like, don't do it. And she's like, I have to. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Just relax, woman. Like, child, sorry, you're 16. And I just didn't really like her. She was really naive. She always believed everything that was told to her. She had no sense of thinking further. For example, wardens are supposed to protect the library and they are not allowed to be involved with sorcery because for some reason people believe sorcery is evil. At least the librarians do, even though the libraries were built by sorcerers and the evil sorcerers died like 300 years ago. So I don't know why they still believe that. Elizabeth believes it. She believes it because she grew up with it, but she never questions it. She never questions anything that happens. And she's like, oh, really? Yeah, girl. Sorry. A spark blazed to life inside her breast. In her breast? In her titty? Or where? You mean in her chest? Or do you really mean breast? I think author can't remember the words they're trying to find. And they just use something else. I remember one quote from A Curse So Dark and Lonely. The author wrote, her voice boomerangs in my mind. And I'm like 100% sure she wanted to write echo, but she couldn't think of it, so she just wrote boomerang, which doesn't make sense. Like, it goes and comes back. I made that joke already, so maybe you didn't watch the video. There you go. You can still have the joke. There's a magister in the library. A magister, he's a sorcerer. He's come to visit the library for whatever reason. And so Elizabeth's best friend, because she does have a friend, her name is Katrine, and she's a black character because none of the main cast is black, so we need someone that's black. She's like, oh my god, she's a little bit like the more rebellious one. She's like, oh my god, I really want to see him because they never got to see a sorcerer because sorcery is bad to them. And they want to know if all the rumors about sorcerers are true, like they have pointed ears or whatever. And so Elizabeth's like, you know what? Okay. Lizzie and Katrine go, well, I'm going to call her Lizzie because Elizabeth is too much to say for me, okay? Or Liz. No, Lizzie. Lizzie. They go to spy on the sorcerer that is in the library just to figure out what he looks like, if he looks any different than a normal human, because sorcerers make deals with demons. I bet you didn't think of that. Also, Elizabeth is a tall girl. She is super tall. I think she's taller than her love interest. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not sure. And it's explicitly said that she's a tall girl, which I honestly like. Slay. Like, it's not, I think I've never read a book where it was explicitly like the main character is super tall and struggles with it because she's just taller than everyone. And, you know, that's kind of like, oh my god, a girl that's tall, blah, blah, blah. And so, even though I can't relate, I appreciate that it was put in. I always appreciate shit like that. But even though it was mentioned quite a few times in the beginning, towards the end, that is not mentioned again. Maybe because she's going through other stuff. Maybe other things are more important than your height in life, you know what I mean? Of course, the sorcerer notices her because she falls against a bookshelf she was hiding behind, making it fall over, and then he sees her and she's like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me. He's gonna fucking kill me because sorcerers are evil. They're evil, they're gonna kill me. It's like, girl, do you think he has nothing better to do? Like, do you really think he's just gonna murder you? Yes, she does. Now, he said, turning back to her, I suppose I should clean up this mess before someone blames it on me, which means you have to move. Go on, he said. I'm not going to turn you into a salamander. You can't do that? Truly? Of course! But I only turn girls into salamanders on Tuesdays. Luckily for you, it's a Wednesday, which is the day I drink a goblet of orphan's blood for supper. He didn't seem to have noticed her robes, which labeled her an apprentice and therefore an orphan by default. Elizabeth completely believes him. She's like, oh my god, you're gonna drink my blood? Like, for real? She believes everyone, everything they say all the time. It's like, you have no sense of humor or what? Like, you gotta, like, she doesn't actually, never mind, sorry. Also, inside of the room, she is able to smell ethereal combustion or whatever. This is the smell of a magical reaction occurring because it's a little bit like chemical, which is why it reminded me of Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist. That's a difficult thing to say. And so she's not supposed to be able to smell that, and it's really weird. But they don't really talk about that again because normal people can't smell it. And that means she's not normal. Of course she's not normal, but she can't do any magic. Spoiler. Fast forward, after this dude visited, a few months pass, I think. We don't get to find out more about him, but Elizabeth wakes up in the middle of the night at some point, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? It smells like ethereal combustion. Who's busting it down? Then in the distance, a hulking silhouette moved among the trees. It limped toward the village with a rolling, ungainly gait, like a malformed bear clumsily attempting to walk on two legs. There was no mistaking what it was. A grimoire had escaped from the vault. Drawing upon the power of the sorcery between its pages, it had swelled into a gruesome monster of ink and leather. They do that. When books get damaged and they're like really powerful, they turn into monsters. Good idea, I think. She sees this because she's the only one that woke up in the night, and she went downstairs to figure out what was going on. She found the director dead on the floor, by the way. She's dead. The woman is dead. RIP. And so that is why Elizabeth, she kind of took the sword from the director, which is called Demon Slayer, which that is another reference without me having to make one. And she goes outside to figure out, because the doors are open, what's going on. She sees that the book has turned into a monster because for whatever reason she doesn't know. And then she says, well, in this situation, I should ring the bell. I should ring the bell so that all the wardens would wake up and be alarmed. The wardens, the ones that are prepared to fight in a situation like this, that know how to use a sword, because I've never had a sword in my life. But it's going towards the village, and if I don't ring the bell right fucking now, it's gonna eat all the people in the village. Of course, she goes after the monster, she fights it, and she kills it. Slay. I love that she can just do that, actually. Because of this little thing that happened, because her killing a book, being the only one awake, and also the director being dead, everyone's sassy of her, understandably so, and no one listens to her when she's like, I don't know what was going on. I literally defeated a monster that would have killed people, and you're saying that I'm insane, and they're like, yeah. Like, you killed the director. I don't know how that would work. Anyway, we want the sorceress. Even though they hate sorceress, the library sends her to the sorceress. See, I don't understand the dynamics in this world. They send her to the sorceress to be evaluated so she can tell them the story, because there has to be some kind of magic, you know, related to this attack. And for them to figure out if she's telling the truth, if she's telling a lie, whatever. To figure out what's going on. Of course, I don't know if you can see this coming. The person that picks her up, the sorcerer that picks her up, is the sorcerer we met earlier. The one that drinks orphan blood. His name is Nathaniel, and he is the main male love interest, and they fall in love and they kiss. They almost have sex. They don't, because this is YA. This book was full of unpredictable things, and you could see very clearly where everything was going all the time. And this is another thing, like we meet one sorcerer, and of course that is the sorcerer that came to pick her up to bring to the city to be interrogated. Of course it's him. Who else would it be? Nathaniel is with another person. His name is Silas. This is where I get the whole Infernal Devices vibe, with Nathaniel being like Will and her being like Tessa, and Silas, the other dude, being like Jem, even though it's not a love triangle. I think that's a good thing. We're past that. We're past the love triangles. So Silas comes with Nathaniel to pick her up, and something's weird about him. It's because he's not human. Because as I said, sorcerers have to strike deals with demons, and then they get marked. And for Nathaniel, it's that he has like a silver piece of hair strand, and Silas is his demon. And somehow Lizzie realizes this, but she can't really grasp it because Silas, since he's a demon, he also has magical powers. He keeps persuading her and telling her like, no, I'm human. There's nothing weird about me. And so she just keeps forgetting it, but he's a demon. And he's like 300 years old, at least. Her bestie, Katrine, we get to see her a few more times, but she actually snuck out a book for Lizzie before she left in her trunk. And no one realized that this book was just gone. Anyway, she learns that the family that Nathaniel is from, they are necromancers, so they raise the dead. Nathaniel does not raise any dead in this book because he's afraid of his own power. Which would have been sick. You know, I wish they would have turned evil. Maybe I should rewrite the book. But that is what our Miss Lizzie realizes as she reads this book. And at some point she loses the book and we never see it again, and she never mentions it again, so I don't know what's up with that. Maybe I just forgot about it, actually. Could be. But basically, as I said, his family is the family of necromancers. 300 years ago, there was like a battle, war of bones or some shit, I don't remember, but it was a war, and then his family summoned a dead army, and so everyone's afraid of his bloodline, but he's the only one left, because everyone else is dead. How ironic. Relatively little is known about demons, even within the sorcerer's community. In part due to the danger of conversing with demons who are notorious deceivers and will seize any chance to betray their masters. For once a bargain with a demon is struck, it is in the demon's best interest to see its master dead. Thus it may secure another bargain with a new master and maximize the amount of human life that it receives in payment. Demons populate a realm known as the Otherworld. Of course, we don't get a fancy name for that. A plane adjacent to our own, which is the source of all magical energy. Without the connection established by a demonic bargain, humans cannot draw energy from the other world. Therefore, sorcery's very existence is contingent, I don't know how you say that, upon the summoning and servitude of demons, a regrettable but necessary evil. It is both a blessing and a curse that demons crave a mortal life above all else, and are therefore eager to treat with humans. Eager to treat? I think she went to write trade. She wrote treat though. I did not misread that. Typo. So Silas is Nathaniel's demon. Because of Silas, Nathaniel is able to use magic. If Silas were not there, he would not be able to use magic, even though he's from a magical family. Which makes me think that like anyone that summons a demon can use magic. I think that's also how it works. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me. I lie sometimes. They're going per coach, like with horses and shit. They're going to the city, and it's like a really long, it's a little road trip. It's a long road trip, and the whole time Lizzie keeps thinking, oh my god, Nathaniel's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna be dead by the end of this. This is a good moment for Nathaniel to kill me. Oh, I think he will kill me now. And this whole time, he's been nothing but fun. Both of them, Silas and Nathaniel, have been nothing but nice to her. And instead of her just asking, like, what are you gonna do with me? Like, what's the plan? I don't know if I have time for this. She doesn't ask any questions. She just makes her own assumptions, and she's like, yeah, he'll kill me. He has to kill me. He wants me dead. Because she thinks that he was the one that infiltrated the library and released the book. Because he's the only sorcerer that she knows. Because then it has to be him. We barely get to see... Like, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, we only get to see Nathaniel and the main antagonist use, because of course it wasn't him, the main antagonist use magic in this whole entire book. No one else does. There's like a bunch of magical families, I'm sure. Why are no of the other sorcerers there using magic? That would have been cool, no? Yeah, not no, yes, it would have been cool. That is why And you know what I'm gonna say? You don't write standalone high fantasy. Anyway, they make it to the city at some point. Elizabeth is like, you're not gonna kill me? And he's like, no, I'm gonna bring you to the Chancellor. Chancellor Merkel. This is one video I always think of. Wait, wait, I haven't watched it in forever.
Oh, let's watch a message of the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel.
The German Chancellor! Anyway, that was super niche. I don't even know how I know that. But that was the voice I had in my head every time they were like, the Chancellor. That was what I had in my head. He wants to bring her to the Chancellor, who's like the highest sorcerer, the sorcerer boss. And then they arrive at his house and it's like, oh my god, that's so weird. Like, there's someone to be here picking you up. And turns out that demons are attacking. Demons, I'm scared. It's like lesser demons because Silas, of course, is a noble higher demon with a lot of power. But there's also lesser demons like Ilkin. I don't know how you say that. Of course, the boys save Elizabeth. She fights though because it's the right thing to do. She all of a sudden develops a very good mechanical, correct, crucial self-defense skills. A woman near the front of the crowd was screaming. 2 young men held her back. All 3 of them had the same ginger hair as the boy beneath the card. I can't, Nathaniel said. His lips barely moved, as if he were in a trance. Not without hitting him too. Elizabeth reacted instinctively, readying herself to jump down from the coach. I lure it away! And then she just does, because she sacrificed her life for a boy, for a ginger boy. At that, you know? I wouldn't. At this point, they hang out at Nathaniel's house because for some reason the Chancellor is busy or some shit. And so Silas is like, oh yeah, I'm a demon. And then Elizabeth is like, oh my god, really? And he's like, yeah, usually I walk around as a white little cat. Why white? Why not ginger? He also hates gingers. And black, because he's not a black cat. Then there's an article published about Elizabeth because she saved a child and defended the world or whatever, I don't know, the city. And before that, everyone thought she was a little bit of a crazy person because of the attack and that she was like dangerous. And then now that she saved the city from a demon attack, everyone's like, all hail Elizabeth, our queen of, I don't know, being basic. Then she finds out, because for some reason librarians don't know anything, which makes me confused because aren't you working in a library? That there were attacks on the other big grand royal libraries before the attack on her own library. Also, there's a royal family in this book, but you only get to see the prince at one point during the masquerade ball. Because this is a fantasy. And YA, so there's a masquerade ball. You killed him, Elizabeth said. Alistair, the league champ. Nathaniel knows? He does. And he still decided to... He bound me to his service directly after it happened. He was only 12 years of age. The ritual was surely frightening for him, but of course he already knew me well. I was there when Master Thorn came into the world, you see. I heard him speak his first words and watched him take his first steps. And I will be there when Master Thorn dies, he said. One way or another. I think Silas is a lot of people's favorite because he's like a butler. And he's a demon, and so he speaks like very eloquently, and he always helps them, and he always helps them. He always, whenever they get into any trouble, Silas is always there to get them out. Even if it's like, oh, Silas can't help because there's a lot of iron, and he's a demon, and iron like stops magic and demons, he still manages to help them. Though he was almost old enough to be Elizabeth's father, he was undeniably handsome. Daddy Chancellor? His name is Ashcroft. I don't know his first name. Yeah, that's a good question. What's his first name? He doesn't have one. Fuck. I'm Oberon Ashcroft. Okay, see, I forgot about that, because what the fuck kind of name is that? The Chancellor of Magic. What a pleasure to meet you. So then Nathaniel leaves her with the Chancellor. He's like, okay, I did everything I had to. Fuck off. And he's like, he was always very sarcastic and like charming, and now he's all of a sudden weirdly cold. Like he's hiding something. She stays with Ashcroft, the Chancellor. She's so annoying. She is so annoying. Then Hannah began to lace the corset up the back, and Elizabeth's breath hitched. I cannot breathe, she said, scrabbling at her chest. Hannah firmly took her hands and set them aside. It's fashion, miss. Elizabeth was deeply alarmed by the idea that not breathing was fashionable. What if I have to run, she said. Or fight something? No comment on that. Is this Pirates of the Caribbean 1? After dinner, oh, I didn't tell you that there was a dinner. There's a dinner with a bunch of other important people. I don't know if they are royal family, if they are sorcerer families, or if they're just like noble or whatever. Neither of them are important. They have a dinner, then that's how we meet them. And after the dinner, Lizzie's servant is supposed to come pick her up, but she's taking her sweet time, and Lizzie wants to get naked and like go to fucking bed. And so she thinks that she sees like a glimpse of her walking down the hallway, and she follows that glimpse because she's like, oh my god, there's my servant, like I'm just gonna have her lead me back to the room, because she doesn't know where her room is. But it was just a prank by the Chancellor's demon, because the Chancellor, of course, also has the demon. He doesn't have a silver streak in his hair, he has a red eye, which I think is much cooler, by the way. And the demon that the Chancellor has, her name is Lorelei. This Lorelei demon brings her, Lizzie, to Ashcroft because something is going on. And it turns out that Lorelei assumes that Lizzie, you have to keep up, okay? Lizzie is under a spell, under a demon spell, and she doesn't know that Lizzie can actually kind of resist demonic energy and magic in general. So the persuading and the spells don't work on her. How convenient. She brings her to Ashcroft, to her master, and they assume that she's just out of it. They assume that she has a spell on her that makes her sleep, but she's conscious. She can't move on her own, and she looks like she's out of it, but she's conscious. She hears everything. She's like, she's there. She's ready. So she overhears them because they are just openly talking about what their plan is and what's going on. It turns out the Chancellor is, of course, the intruder in the library who killed the director and let go the monster. And he's been doing it in every library. He's the one. Because who else would it be? Because we only know 2 sorcerers. I mean, it's not Nathaniel, so who else is it going to be? They also talk about Silas, how dangerous he is, and that he's notorious, like even in the other world where the demons are from, where they're all brutal and dangerous. Like even Silas has a reputation of being like really terrible, and so they're like, oh my god, we have to be more careful or whatever. If the girl saw something she shouldn't, don't you imagine that a different sorcerer might have spelled the evidence from her long before she reached Brassbridge? But Nathaniel, I knew he wouldn't harm her. I must say I was quite relieved when he stepped forward with a solution to the particular challenge. Otherwise, I would have had to resort to more drastic measures. And you know how much I hate getting my hands dirty. You should have sent more demons, Master. You should have ended this instead of drawing it out. Now you can no longer kill her. There are too many humans involved. The intention, said Ashcroft, was never to kill her. I merely required an excuse to bring her here. We have only just begun, Lorelei. Whatever mistakes occurred in Summershall, I can't afford to make it again. There must be no more surviving witnesses, because her surviving and having seen the monster and the destruction, and that was not planned. And so he's like, oh, okay, we have to kill them all, and then, yeah, whatever. So it was the Chancellor who did the attacks, and we don't really know why. We don't get to find out until like the last 3 chapters, I think, what his plan is and what the purpose of like letting loose monsters is in the libraries. But yeah, it's him. She obviously heard all of this, and she's like, I have to tell someone without the Chancellor noticing, so they can tell all of the other sorcerers, so they can like do something about it. And so a doctor comes to visit her because she pretends to be sick or something, and she tells him. And then he goes, and how long have you believed the Chancellor to be responsible? I don't believe he is responsible. I know he is. What are you writing? I know all of this must be very frightening for you, but try not to agitate yourself. Excitement will only worsen the inflammation. The what? The inflammation of your brain. It is quite common among women who read novels, because women who read novels are silly. They're so silly. Please tell the Chancellor that I prescribe a strict period of bed rest for the patient. It is clear that this is a classic case of hysteria. Once the swelling in her brain subsides, her mind may return to normal. And then he writes her a letter that if she keeps going crazy, because he thinks she's crazy, she can be brought to a mental hospital. Yeah, because women are crazy. So then the Chancellor decides that it's time to destroy her mind, because he feels like she's withholding information, and I mean, she is. She's not letting him know because he keeps asking her about what she knows, and she keeps leaving out the part where she, first of all, knows it's him, and second of all, is aware that it was a sorcerer who did it, because if he knew, he would just kill her. And so instead of just killing her, which he could have done the whole time, especially if people think she's crazy, he goes into her mind to look for the memory, like, that she's hiding. And he can't find it because she's just so powerful. She fights against his magic. She can just do that. No one else can do it. She does it. And he destroys her mind, leaving it in shatters, so that, or shambles. Shambles. Sorry. Love law. So that she won't remember anything. And if she's at a mental hospital, she obviously can't talk and she doesn't even know her own name. But of course, the magic doesn't work on her correctly, so she's brought to the mental hospital, but she still remembers everything. They bring her to the mental hospital. She runs away as they're about to put her inside. She escapes. She runs to the city, and then she lives on the street for a couple of days because she doesn't know what's going on. She sends a letter to the library that she is originally from and says, hey, like, take me back. And then they pretend like she's never even worked there, because there's a new director now and that dude hates her or whatever. There's like a lot of things. I don't want to talk about it, honestly. I'm like over it. But she escapes before she's even put into the mental hospital. She runs away into the city, can't get back to the library. And so she's like, okay, because she's just living on the streets. Like, she's a young girl in the city. Like, I'm sure someone will take you in if you ask nicely. And so she's like, okay, the library won't take me back. I have to go fight Nathaniel. Because Nathaniel's the only other person I know, because she only knows 2 people. She knows the library and her bestie, and she knows Nathaniel. That's all the people she knows. She can't find his house, basically. And then so randomly in the city, she's like, oh my god. But like after she made this decision, like immediately after she made this decision, she's like, oh my god, is that Silas? Is that Silas running around? And it is. So she goes to follow him. But she gets like caught in an alley or something, and then it's like creepy man, of course, and Silas comes save her, and she's like, hey, doesn't this happen? And he's like, okay, I'll take you with me. You also have a fever. She's like, yeah, I've been living on the streets for 3 days. Also haven't eaten in 3 days. Give me some food. Did you kill those men? She asked. When one calls upon a demon, one must be prepared for death to follow. I didn't. You spoke my name. You wished for me to save you. You could have let him run and, like, assault another woman. Girl, I suppose you will tell me they were bad men, like last time. Would that make you feel better, miss? Shut the fuck up. Of course he killed them. They deserve to be dead. But she is a saint. She doesn't want anyone to die. Shut the fuck up, Elizabeth. Honestly, she's getting on my fucking last nerve. Silas brings her home to Nathaniel. He is absolutely mad. Going insane that, Silas thought that this was the right idea. I am not the one who cares, Silas said softly. What is that supposed to mean? You care about her, master. More than I have seen you care about anything in years. Don't attempt to deny it. There's no other reason why you should wish so fervently for her to leave. Nathaniel doesn't want her there, in the house. And Silas is like, she's gonna stay. She's gonna stay. Also, Silas is like, her life is unlike any other that I have seen, even marked by shadow. It burns so fiercely that it's blinding. But she isn't invincible, master. No human is. If you don't help her, the spirit will eventually claim her. Blah, blah, blah. She's special. She's different. She tells Nathaniel everything that she heard Ashcroft talk about, that he's the one that's been attacking the libraries, and he believes her. And so, slay. You're hoping I might help you expose Ashcroft? Yes, she said. Why? It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Elizabeth does everything right all the time. Nathaniel's expression grew odd. You like this place? Of course I do. It has books in it. How much longer do I have to read sentences like that? You're a bookworm, we get it, you like reading, your main character that likes reading, that's so different. I can name 5 off the top of my head that also like doing that because it's so different. I want a main character that hates reading. Like she's never touched a book in her life. Nathaniel agrees to let her stay, and he says, you can do your research about Ashcroft and figure out how to stop him, but I don't want to get involved. Like, I don't need the drama. And she's like, okay. And so she does some research and she finds a random ass mirror that is a magical mirror. And I don't really know how it works because the rules for the mirror change like 50 million times. And also the whole magic system in general is never really explained. Like, our main character is Elizabeth. She does not know how the magic system works. So I don't either. Everything that she finds out, I find out. And I don't think it's enough. Because I don't know the parameters. I don't like know the restrictions or how much someone can do. Because it's then like, oh my god, Nathaniel, he got like severely injured and he should be in bed, but he's summoning like a whole fucking storm and he can change the weather and he can do this. It's the same with this magical mirror. The rules for it change so many times. I don't know what's going on, y'all. It's a magical mirror. It's a hand mirror that's like forgotten behind a bookshelf because it's a banned artifact that no one is allowed to possess anymore, and they just forgot about it. Behind a shelf. When she looks through it, she can look through other mirrors. It's kind of like One Piece. I don't want to be specific because that is 1,000 episodes and you would have to watch a lot to figure out what I'm talking about. But basically, it's a mirror, and if you look inside of the mirror, you can see through other mirrors. Okay? So if I had the mirror and I was like, show me my boyfriend, I would be able to see through the mirror in his room and see him. Okay, that's how it works. And so that is how she starts FaceTiming her bestie, basically, because of course her bestie has a mirror in her room and they communicate through that. She calls her up like 50 million times, and that's how they kind of scheme together and figure out a plan to stop Ashcroft, and she helps them from like 50,000 miles away. I don't know. But they FaceTime like every evening. Her bestie then says to her, you know what? If you want to know what's going on, you have to start stealing books. And she's like, I can't do that. Because she saw Ashcroft like study a book, whatever the name was, and she believes that the answer of what he's trying to do is inside that book. And so her best friend is like, oh, there's another copy of that book in the library that you live 10 minutes away from. Just go steal it. And she does. I'm just gonna skip ahead. She gets hired at the library and then she steals the book, and there are no consequences because they're like, oh my god, the sorcerer that's been making the attacks, he also stole a book, like we don't want to blow it up, blah blah blah. But she steals the book and there's no repercussions. It all just works out in her favor. Silas is with her because she can't do anything herself. So she steals the book. Also, what happens in this time frame is Nathaniel has a nightmare, and when he has nightmares, he uses spells, and they're really gruesome with like corpses, like illusions, like corpses in the hallway, and this one is like blood on the walls and shit. And so of course Elizabeth wakes up and she's like, I'm not afraid of you, I also have nightmares or whatever. This is the real you, it's not real, like I'm not afraid of you. And it was like one of the main reasons that Nathaniel didn't want her to stay in the house, because he was like using magic, and he was like not aware of this because Silas drugged him every time he did it, and so he forgot about it. And then at some point he finds out, and it's a conflict for like 2 sentences, and then they figure it out. So there are no consequences in the book. That's a good thing to talk about right now. I don't know what the stakes are. They're like in really great danger the whole book, because, well, I only find this out in the last 3 chapters because that's when I find out what the whole plot is like leading towards. But the whole time it was just this cast of 3 characters or 4 characters going against each other and working together and whatever, like just around the 4. And so I was like, okay, like what is, like no one else is involved. The public, the media is such a big thing in this book with like, oh, they're gonna write about me in the media, blah, blah, blah. But what are the stakes? This feels like we are not in danger at all. This entire book, even the finale, I was like, okay, like, is it really, like the whole universe is gonna shatter? Is it really? I don't feel it. I don't feel like it is. Also, there are certain things where characters die. Silas dies at one point. I keep giving you like the rundown. Silas dies at one point, and then Elizabeth is like, I'm so sad he's dead. And then Nathaniel's like, we can just summon him again. We can just like get him back. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah. So there's no consequences for anything. There's like, everything just works out. Everything just works out. Elizabeth escapes the mental hospital. She's with Nathaniel. Okay, no consequence. Also, the story behind the death of Nathaniel's family and Silas killing his dad, basically. Nathaniel's mom and his little brother died in an accident that had nothing to do with magic. And then his dad was so sad about it that he tried to bring them back to life because they're necromancers. And it got out of hand, and then Silas had to kill the dad because Nathaniel was in the room, and Nathaniel would have also died if everything, like if the ritual worked out or whatever. And so that's why he killed the dad, and that's why they're dead. That's the story. And we're supposed to feel like really bad for Nathaniel, I think, but I don't feel bad for him because I'm a bad bitch. So as mentioned, she steals the book. No repercussions, no consequences. Then she studies the book and she realizes she can't read it because the sentences don't make sense. Like some paragraphs make sense, but the letters are just floating around. They're floating around this page and she can't read it, and then all of a sudden she's inside of the book. She gets inside of the book and she's like, oh my god, are you the person who wrote the book? And he's like, yeah, I am. What the fuck do you want? And she's like, well, I don't really know how I got here. I was just falling asleep and then I came into this dimension. And he's like, okay. How are you? The dude who wrote this codex book, he put his mind into the book because he had to protect a secret, and so he's not actually there. It's just like a fragment of his mind, okay? So she talks to him. He's like, I had to do this because I have to protect a secret from Ashcroft's dad or whatever, and now Ashcroft is trying to find the secret in the book. Yeah, that's what's going on. Then at some point, during this conversation, the book starts turning evil. Not sure what's going on. And then Nathaniel starts screaming at Silas because he finds out that he's been having nightmares. But they all make up immediately. Don't worry about it. There's no consequences, as I said. She blew out a breath, realizing she'd been holding it the entire time. Fuck off. Stop saying shit like that. Stop it. Katrine proposes, her bestie proposes the idea that maybe because Elizabeth grew up in the library because she was there when she was younger. As I mentioned at the very beginning, she didn't start her apprenticeship when she was 13, but when she was younger, she soaked up some of the library's magic or whatever, and that is why she's the chosen one. She's the library's will made flesh, is what they said, and that's why she's resistant to magic, because she grew up with it all her life. When she, since she was a baby. So she must have developed some resistance to magic because she grew up there or whatever. Which is really useful because, why not? Can you tell that I'm really over it? Like, I really just want to have it over with. As I said, there's a royal family and we get to see the prince once at the ball. And he's also just there so we can find out that Nathaniel's our bi king, because he's like, I used to fancy him once, and then Elizabeth is like super awkward. She's like, oh my god, I didn't realize that you're gay. And then he goes, I like girls too. I like both. So he's our bi king, but I don't know why we had to introduce a whole ass royal family to to reveal that, They almost make out at this ball on the balcony, but then Elizabeth realizes that Ashcroft put Nathaniel under a spell because, oh, I didn't mention this. Basically, their plan was to expose Ashcroft at the ball and confront him in front of all the people, being like, oh my god, we know you're the one that's attacking the libraries. You're a bitch. Go fuck yourself. And then he's like, oh my god, I can't believe that you would accuse me of that. And he leaves. And they think he's gone. But he actually put Nathaniel under a spell. And so they almost kiss on the balcony. But then Elizabeth is like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And then Ashcroft comes out from behind the curtain, and he's like, wow, you realized it's a spell. He captured Silas, and so Silas is trapped in iron chains and he can't move because he's a demon and it's iron. And then Nathaniel is like, okay, you want to take Elizabeth? Well, I won't let you have her. Let's have a duel. And then they have a magic duel, but I really didn't care about it because where are the other sorcerers in this world? I don't know. So then Nathaniel fights Ashcroft in a magical duel, but that's a grown-ass man, so he's a little bit more powerful. And Elizabeth tries to free Silas, so she fights Lorelei, the other demon. Nathaniel gets hurt. Elizabeth was like, no, Nathaniel. And then Elizabeth gets hurt, and Nathaniel's like, oh my god, no. And then they're both losing or whatever, but they don't. They win. It doesn't matter how, they win, of course, and then they leave. I don't know where she learned to fight, but she's swinging that fucking sword like she's never done anything else in her life. She never learned how to fight, I will reiterate. And she's fighting a high-class demon. She actually kills Ashcroft's demon, so that means he doesn't have... Okay, hold up. Hold up. That means he doesn't have any magic left at this point, because he doesn't summon her again. So he cannot draw upon the power of the other world to summon energy to use for witchcraft. We'll get to that, because I just realized something, but I might be silly and goofy stupid. Then in this fight, also Silas dies because Ashcroft is like about to kill Nathaniel, and Silas is like, no, and he goes in front of Nathaniel and then gets stabbed and he dies. And then of course Elizabeth is like super sad because she's like, oh my god, Silas is dead. He's not. They summon him again, as I said. I thought he was dead. He should have stayed dead because, like, honestly, with outsiders, they would all be dead. They would actually all be dead because he saves the world in the end, but I mean also the two of them because he has to fix everything for them. They summon him again and she offers him 10 years of her life and 20 of Nathaniel's, so he will accept their partnership or whatever. And so she also has like gray lock in her hair now, even though she can't draw upon any magical powers because it's Nathaniel who can. Whatever. Also, because she now knows his true name, because you need the true name of a demon, which is like Silatrias or something, you can now summon him and bind him to you, and you need their real name. And she knows it, and no one else knows it besides the Thorn family, Nathaniel's family. Sorcery of thorns, you know, thorn, whatever. He's like, just so you know, now that you know my real name, you will be able to set me free. I wonder what will happen later in the book. Take a guess. I wanted to ask, she said, about when we were on the pavilion, when Nathaniel was looking at her in such a way that she nearly couldn't finish. Was that you, she asked, or was it Ashcroft's spell controlling you? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he leaned forward and kissed her, his lips as soft as crushed velvet, his fingers tangling in her hair. Afterward, he drew away. What kind of whack-ass kiss is that? I'm reading a YA book. This girl has her first kiss, and you're not describing it in the most luscious, dramatic way in the world. That was a whack-ass kiss. But they almost have sex on, by the window. But they don't. Don't worry about it. We're still in YA. They transport into the book that I mentioned earlier again. They can just do that now. Because they want to find out the secret that the dude has been hiding. It doesn't matter now if he tells them or not, because Ashcroft already managed to find him and get the secret out of him. So if one more person knows, it doesn't matter, you know? Ashcroft got what he wanted. Basically, to make a summoning in this book as a sorcerer, to summon demons, you need to make a pentagram, because we're in a witchcraft universe, and so no one realizes that the great libraries are arranged in a pentagram. No one ever realized this. Odd. Very odd. But the dude tells them, and he's like, yeah, he constructed them to form a summoning circle, the libraries. And instead of candles on each point of the pentagram, they're using attacks from demons, like unleashing demons in the library, them being killed. That is the energy source that they're using, because there's something else trying to be fucking summoned. A ritual this size calls for more than a wick and wax. When a Maleficent monster is destroyed, it unleashes a vast amount of demonic energy. Position a sacrifice of that nature at each point of a pentagram, and one ends up with sufficient power to breach the veil for a greater summoning. The veil between the worlds. A name. That's what I've been guarding all these years. You know, lesser demons, fiends and goblins and so on. The lowest subjects of demonic society. And you know of highborn demons who rule them, like your demon here. On the other world's throne sits a being of almost limitless power. A creature called Archon. From Genshin Impact? He's trying to summon the king of the other world, the king of demons. And the dude in the book had been trying to keep his name a secret, so because you need a true name to summon a demon, but Ashcroft found it out, and so now they have to stop him from summoning the Demon King. The dude in the book gives them his blood which means that now they can teleport, which no one else can do. Only he was able to do that. And there's still power in his blood. And basically Nathaniel can drink it and then teleport them. So he teleports them to the last library where there's going to be an attack that night to summon the fucking demon god. And everyone is like, we don't believe you. We don't believe that it's a chancellor, blah, blah, blah. No one believes them. They throw them in a cell. Silas gets them out. I'm really skipping ahead. You've been corrupted, he growled. If that's true, said Elizabeth, then we're all corrupted and have been from the start. You know that the libraries we serve were built by a sorcerer. Have you ever questioned why? A skull answered her. Of course. This was not a man who asked questions. He'd followed orders his entire life. You too, Elizabeth! This man is literally you. Like, you were working in a fucking library and you also believe sorcerers to be evil. What is the difference here? This man is also, he's the director of that library. He's like, I don't believe you. You brought a sorcerer. Sorcerers are evil. You're lying. You used magic. You're corrupted. You were the same, girlie. Don't judge now. But yeah, basically they get thrown into a cell. Silas gets them out after saying, I can't get you out. I don't have any more screenshots. I'm talking out of my ass now. And then they go out. And again, they're like attacked by other things. Silas saves them the whole time. They figure out that Ashcroft was using the director's bodies to open the vaults to get to the really dangerous books. So he's like possessing them. And it makes you wonder, because he doesn't have any more magic. How did he do that? Because then he's like, oh yeah, I cast a spell on your director like months ago or years ago. I was planning this all along. But like, how does that work? You don't have magic anymore. How can you activate the spell without magic? So he's possessing the bodies, freeing the books, and then the directors die because he leaves the bodies again, and that's like how he's been able to control it without being suspicious and without leaving his house. Then they're fighting like this super huge Attack on Titan beast monster that was released, and the way they are saved is by teleporting out of the library again and taking the head with them. And so the monster dies, and then they're like, oh my god, I'm so happy that we survived. And then they remember, oh my god, wait, like the big daddy is not summoned yet. What are we gonna do? They run to the main library in the city that's in the middle of the pentagram where the summoning is happening. There's like a light flare and it looks like the sun is rising, but it's just like the veil between the worlds lifting. And then, listen, okay, I'm just gonna tell you really fast. Elizabeth is like in the library and she's like, oh my god, I'm part of the library. Please, books, listen to me. And the books listen to her and she's like, oh my god, the library, it wants to fight back. And so she starts like freeing all of these dangerous books in the hopes that they will help her, and they do. They're like, we're gonna help you because she's part of the library, but she's basically a book. And so they're freeing the books and they like flap around, and then they flap to the monster that's been summoned, and they try attacking all the other demons that are there. They defend Elizabeth and Nathaniel and also Silas. And then they start sacrificing themselves. The books start flying into the veil to close the gate between the worlds. However that works, I have no idea. All hope is lost because they realize they can't kill the demon daddy that's been summoned. He has to be banished back into the other world. And so, you know, Elizabeth does the only thing that's sensible, and she frees Silas, which he has warned her numerous times not to do because he cannot control himself in his demon form. He's hungry, he wants to kill humans. He says, I don't have any self-control, don't do it, it will end badly. And she's like, you know what, we don't have anything else to lose, I free you. I never saw that coming. He banishes the dude and we don't get to see it. Then there's an epilogue, and in the epilogue they're like, Nathaniel now has like a leg injury. He's like Cass Breckering around with a cane. He's no longer able to use magic because Silas is gone and they couldn't summon him again. They tried, but he never appeared. He's like gone for good. Or is he? We'll get to that. Elizabeth's bestie is transferred to the library that's closer to her because she's now with Nathaniel officially. They said, I love you and shit. They have no chemistry whatsoever. I'm sorry, I did not like them together. I thought both of them were super, super bland. They don't have any personality, don't have any hobbies, they don't have any purpose in life. They're both just miserable and they get together because, you know, convenience. And then the library person, I don't remember who that was, is like, oh, Elizabeth, you can be whatever you want. You can become a warden, you can become anything else. You're literally like a walking library because the books listen to you. You can do anything you want. We all forgive you. That is our happy ending. They both get to do what they want, but of course there's still the matter of Silas, the most important sidekick that basically carried the whole book. Like without him, they would be dead long ago, like in the first chapter basically. He's dead. They can't summon him. So then Elizabeth goes back to the house and she's like, oh my god, I have an idea. She goes to the summoning circle that they have to summon Silas, and instead of saying his true name this time while summoning him, because you needed demon's true name, she's like, oh my god, he's been banished by his people because he defeated or he sent back the daddy demon. Like, they shunned him. He is no longer his true name. He's just Silas. So instead of saying his true name that I can't pronounce because it's a true name, you know, it's gonna be difficult, she says Silas. And the last sentence is like, and all 5 candles wink out at once. And that's it. So she summoned him. She summoned Silas, he's back, it's a happy ending, that's it. Over, finished, finally, yoo-hoo! Listen, this book dragged on in the middle. I understand people who like this book. I get it. I won't judge you if you're like, I love Sorcery of Thorns. I will not judge you like I will judge you if you say, oh, I love From Blood and Ash. You know what I mean? Because this was good writing. The characters were boring, yeah, but I get how you like them. I mean, they're really basic. There's a lot of tropes in this book. It dragged on in the middle towards the end. I just wanted it to be over and it took me forever to read. And I think it put me in a reading slump because I have no desire to read anything at the moment. Like, literally. Actually, Howl's Moving Castle is lying... Oh, you can't see. It's laying on my pillow. I'm reading that at the moment. But I will not tell you about it because I'm reading that for my own enjoyment. It's none of your business. I'm filming my Throne of Glass video at the moment. If you want updates on that, you can follow me on my Instagram. You can also follow me on my TikTok. I post daily. I post twice daily. Yeah, I know. It's like I have nothing else to do. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stay happy, you stay healthy. I really want this to be, like, I'm so aggravated right now. I'm sorry, I'm rushing, but I'm like, I just need to breathe because I'm so mad. Stay happy, stay healthy, I love you, and maybe I'll see you in my next video. Bye!